A lot has been said about Eva Cassidy, particularly about her singing, of course, that's where the focus is, and that's quite right too. She was a great arranger though. Her ability to wrangle disparate songs into something that fitted her sensibilities as a performer, guitarist, singer, that shouldn't be overlooked. But really I just want to focus very briefly on what a good guitarist she was. Now, a good guitarist could be a lot of things, but she was never ostentatious, she was never flashy or showy for the sake of it, lightning fast picking or wailing guitar solos. What she was, though, was really reliable. And, you know, what she does on this track ticks all the boxes as far as I'm concerned of how you want to accompany yourself on the guitar. I've transcribed her guitar part for People Get Ready, Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which isn't up yet, True Colours, Wayfaring Stranger, Early Morning Rain, I might have missed one or two. And I'm always struck by the way you can take the guitar part for one verse and lay it on top of the next verse, and note for note it will be identical. She's just really reliable, really steady, and that's quite a trick not to be overlooked. So actually it's a transcriber's dream, you know, writing this out. I know that once I've got the first verse, I've also got the second verse, and so on. And for you watching this, it's not going to be very difficult to get this together either. We'll look at the chords first of all, and then we'll look at the actual picking part that she has. Capo on the 2nd fret, so we're playing in D, but we're playing as if in C. Yeah, we've got an intro, a verse, and a chorus, and that really is it. So let's crack on and look at the chords for the verse. Now, all 3 verses are the same, at least to begin with. The 2nd and 3rd verses have an ending that takes them into the chorus. The 1st verse just goes straight into the 2nd verse though, so the ending there is different. They all share the same first 8 bars though, and it's around a single shape of C, but with a bit of a twist. These chords are a bit different from the Cyndi Lauper original at this point, but this is what she does. We start with a chord of C, and when we look at the picking it'll make a bit more sense, but we really want to limit ourselves to the middle 4 strings. We really don't want to be touching that top string right now. So you could just mute it with the underside of your first finger, or just avoid strumming it altogether. And as I say, when you pick, you're not going to be picking that top string. Anyway, we've got this chord of C, and you want to position that 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string to begin with, because you'll need it in a moment. But initially, you're going to also put your little finger on the 3rd fret of that 4th string. Then you're going to take it off, and at the end of the bar on the 4th beat, you're going to take that 2nd finger off. So we've got C, sus4, then we've got a straight C, and then we've got C, sus2. Like that. And the rhythm works like this. We've got 4 beats in the bar, and we're going to split each beat into 2, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, making 8 places altogether. And if we strum it, the first 3 eighths are given over to that C sus4, 1 and 2, and then on and, we're on the C chord, the straight C, the little finger comes off for the next 3 strums. So then we get down, up, and then finally for the last beat, just the last beat, down, up on the C sus2. So it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, if that makes more sense. I'll just sing you the verse. Lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick, and I think of you turning in circles. Confusion is nothing new. And then we need to look at the various endings. In the second half of this verse, we get some different chords. We begin with an F, then we go to this, G add 2. And you want to keep that 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string as you move to G add 2. That'll just help you to find and hold that shape. I'm not bothering with the 5th string, I'm just touching that with the underside of the 3rd finger. That takes that out of circulation. And then we've got E minor to F. And in fact, and this is really a Eva Cassidy-ism, you hear this on True Colours as well, she brings that second chord forward by half a beat. So we get 1 and 2 and, just like we did with the C sus4 to the C in the first part of the verse, and again with E minor to F. So we get 1 and 2 and, 1 and 2 and. Then we get F to G add 2 again, before a whole bar of E minor. So if I sing you that, flashback to warm nights, almost left behind, and we get that F to G again, a suitcase of memories, to the E minor to the F again, and again we're changing on 2 and now we get a final bar of F, and the very last beat is G. Time after, and then we get into the next verse. Okay, just like that. So let me sing you the whole of the second half of the verse. 2, 3, 4. Flashback to warm nights, almost left behind, a suitcase of memories. 1 time after, and then you're into the second verse. All right, let's look at the ending for the second and third verses. After this first verse, we go back and sing that second verse, and then we have a different ending that takes us into the chorus. In fact, the ending for the second and third verses is almost identical. Effectively, we just miss out the final bar of the first ending, where we had 3 beats of F to a single beat of G. That doesn't happen. We just stay on F, and it just kind of pauses for a second before we launch into the chorus. But I'll sing you. We get this. And you say, go slow, I fall behind. So far, it's identical. The second hand unwinds, and then we just pause there before. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me, time after time. So let's look at the chorus now. We get this chord of G add 2 that we saw in the second half of the verse. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. A bar of A minor, and then it's 2 beats each of F, time after, and G to C. And here we get this. A little bit like we did in the first part of the verse. A little C sus4 back to C. And when we do the picking, this comes alive a little bit more. And then those 4 bars just repeat. If you fall, I will catch you, I'll be waiting. And again, F to G. Time after time with the sus4. If you fall, I will catch you, I will be waiting. Time after time. So we've had the same 4 bar sequence 3 times. G add 2, A minor for a bar, F 2 beats, G for 2 beats, and then R. C sus4 to C. That's 3 times through. And we finish with a couple of bars, just 2 beats of F. Time after time. That's F for 2, G for 2, and C for a bar. Okay, so the whole of the chorus, let me just do that. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me, time after time. If you fall, I will catch you, I'll be waiting, time after time. If you fall, I will catch you, I will be waiting, time after time. Final 2 bars, time after time. And now we get an interlude, which, when we look at the intro, it's exactly the same as that. But I'll save that for now because it doesn't make much sense if we strum through this without having looked at the intro first. So that's it. We've done the verse and we've done the chorus. We've got the intro and the interlude to do, and that's pretty much it. The outro is just an extension of the chorus, and it's the same 4-bar idea going round, except that we do go to an A minor. So let's just look at that briefly now. As we go into the final chorus, we enter this outro, this coda. So I'll sing you what happens from the top of the chorus. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. F. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you, I'll be waiting. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you, I will be waiting. Time after time. Now, that's our 4-bar sequence 3 times through, and we just get a lot of time after time, and it works like this. Time after time. Just like the other choruses end, but we get that again. Time after time. We get it a 3rd time, but this time it goes to A minor. Time after time. Single beat of G, and then time after time. And that's the end of the song. As you'll see when we look at the picking, time after, we just pause on that G. Time. And what she does at the very end is she plays a C, but she adds a note on the 3rd fret of the bottom string, and then she just time goes across in a kind of classic folk version of that chord, which is lovely. Okay, you could be done with this now. If you want to strum this, we do still need to look at the interlude/intro though, but now I'm going to focus on the picking. Now, one of the great advantages, of course, of looking at Eva Cassidy's guitar playing is it's so consistent that there's a huge amount of repetition. And the first 8 bars is a single 1-bar phrase that's just repeated exactly note for note. So 24 times in all in the 3 verses, and it's this. Okay? And as we already saw in the strumming, we get that note changing on the 4th string. For now, at least to demonstrate this, I've got my 3 picking fingers on the 2nd, 3rd and 4th strings, with my 1st finger down on the 4th string, 2nd finger on the 3rd string, and my 3rd finger's up on the 2nd string, and my thumb's picking that note on the 5th string. But I'm a bit inconsistent with this. I might actually come up with my thumb to the 4th string. I just quite like when I've got a stack of notes to pick in order to start with the thumb. That's my kind of Travis picking influence there, I guess. But that's how that should be. And if I sing you slowly the first 8 bars with that picking, you should get the idea. Lying in my bed, I hear the clock tick, and I think of you, turning in circles. Confusion is nothing new. So that's the first 8 bars. As I say, that single bar phrase repeats exactly, and again it's identical for all 3 verses. That also forms the basis of the intro that we're going to look at in a minute, but now let's just finish off the picking for the first verse. Now, I'll talk you through the rest of the picking, but it's not going to be very interesting. I'll do my best. I'll put the tab on the screen, but we're just going to have to grind through this. For the price of a cup of coffee, get yourself a copy of my tab, have it printed out, and that'll make things a lot easier. But for now, it's this. And the picking is, as before, with the fingers on the 2nd, 3rd and 4th strings. And I think for the rest of the verse, the thumb stays down on the bottom string. Let's see if that's true. And we begin with this. Again, changing on 2 and keeping that 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string. For E minor, then it moves down. Again, changing on 2 and. Now we get this. Briefly, we get the bottom string and the top string and the 2nd string played together. Okay, that's how she does that. In the 4th bar, where we've got a whole bar of a single chord, On the fourth beat, she puts her finger, I guess her little finger, on the third fret of the second string, plays the open third string, and then the open fourth string. Okay, so that's the first 4 bars of that. We carry on like this. She actually plays those notes together. E minor to F, just as we had before, and we finish off. Okay, for what it's worth, that's what she does in the end of the first verse. I'll see if I can play all of that, and I'm not going to sing it. That's what she does at the end of the first verse. Let's do the same thing for the end of the second verse, which is the same as the end of the third verse. And the ending to the second and third verse is very similar, but with a little twist at the end. So I'll just sing you the second verse, or the ending of the second verse. And you say, go slow, I fall behind. Exactly the same as before, right down to that business at the end of the E minor bar, and now we get this. The second hand unwinds. The final bar is a beat and a half of the E minor, and then we just land on that single note of F there, and then we pause before. If you're lost and you look and you will, we get into the chorus. So that's that. Let's look at the chorus now. Again, in the chorus, she's very consistent. We get this 4-bar sequence that repeats. The G add 2, she does this. Okay. So she starts with the note on the second string. I'm playing it with my third finger and the bottom string. Go to the A minor. And just as we had at the very end of the first verse, we get a single beat of G. Here we get that in the A minor. Now for the F and G, we get this. There's no anticipation here, we just move directly on the third beat to the G. And now we come to the C, sus4, back to C thing, and it's this. Okay, that's a little riff that we need to get together. Let's just look at that. Okay, we'll see this hammer on again in the intro when we look at that in a moment, but we get the thumb on the 5th string, we pick the 4th string, the 3rd string, and then on 2 and, we get the 4th string and the 2nd string together. I'm starting with that second finger there on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, but then I'm just going to hammer on that little finger onto the 3rd fret. And then we have the open 3rd string. We take the little finger off, then we pick the open 3rd and 4th strings before finally playing that bottom string again. One more time, really slowly. I'm going to let you sort your own fingers out, because what I'm doing, what naturally occurs to me, might not be best practice. He says. I just, I do this the way I do it, and sometimes I'm not quite sure why. But anyway, let's put that together with these 4 bars. If you're lost, you can look and you will find me. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I'll be waiting. Exactly the same. Time after time. If you fall, I will catch you. I will be waiting. Time after time. So it really does, as far as I can tell, repeat exactly 3 times. And then we get our final 2 bars to close out the chorus like this. Time after time. Okay, it's a nice touch at the very end there. The open 4th string then, so we've got a C sus2 briefly. pinch that together with the second string and hammer on. Time after time. Okay, and that is the chorus done. Now let's look at the intro, which is the same as the interlude that we get immediately after the chorus we've just seen. Okay, we're nearly there, 32 degrees outside. We've got a heat wave in London at the moment. I don't mind it very much, but it is a bit hot. Anyway, we're doing this in a slightly odd order. We haven't looked at the intro yet. The reason for that is because there's a whole bunch of other stuff that's worth looking at first, and that's going to inform what happens in the intro. The intro is 4 bars, and essentially we've got this, which is how the verse opens up. It's exactly the same, but she plays this hammer on, similar to the one we just saw in the chorus. That's the first bar. Second bar, the same, except on the 4th beat we go to G over B. I'm moving my second finger down to the 2nd fret of the 5th string, picking the open 4th string and then the open 3rd string. Now we have A minor. Now we have G add 6. This is a bit odd, I guess. We get A minor, and we keep that second finger on the 2nd fret of the 4th string, a bit like she did with the 2nd finger on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string from F to G add 2 in the second part of the verse, if I'm not giving you too many details. We keep it on the 4th string now. As we swivel to G, we keep it there, open 3rd string, but then by the time we play that 4th string again at the end of the bar, it's off. That's just how it is. And then we end up with that. I'm playing that with my thumb down at the bottom. My thumb's going to move up to the 4th string. It's quite nice to get inside this stuff, see how she would have done this. She was a superb Travis picking exponent, and I can see exactly how she would have done that. All right, the whole of the intro, nice and slowly. And then we're into the verse. Incidentally, that section that we've just looked at, the intro, is exactly the same as the interlude that we get at the end of the first chorus. So we get time after time. In fact, it's very slightly different. Okay, I admit, the very last bar of that we get a note on the 2nd fret of the 3rd string along with our bass note. But otherwise it's identical. And that is it. We've still got to look at the coda, and then we can have a play through, and then I can have a cup of tea. Now, the way I've written the outro out, the coda, is essentially it's 8 bars that you play instead of the final 2 bars of the first chorus, where we would have had time after time. We get this instead. It's all stuff we've seen pretty much. Time after time. That repeats. Time after time. A 3rd time, but it goes to A minor. Time after time. Okay, 3 beats of A minor to a single beat of G, but the real feature here is that really nice, very casual, but well-defined hammer on onto the 2nd string. You can clearly hear that in the original recording. It's very tasteful. And then we finish off with time after, and we hold that G, and it's simply the bottom string and the 2nd string played together. Time after, and as I previously said, time. She plays a 6-string C over G chord. And that's the end of it. Oh, we've got a heat wave here in the UK. It's currently 32 degrees in my garden in London. I'm going to have some lunch and a cup of tea. But before I do, I'm going to play the whole thing through. Yeah, maybe buy the sheet music, you'll do yourself a favour. I'm sure it's all very clearly laid out and accurately reflects the original and of course what we've covered here. In the meantime though, I'm going to play through the whole thing, and if I've got a backing track, I'll let that run at the end. I'm not sure whether I'm going to do that or not. Anyway, thanks for watching, and hopefully see you on the next one. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's it.